and welcome to my channel, The Spiritual Tea with JD. I'm JD, aka John DeRoos, and as always, I hope wherever you are watching this, that you are keeping yourself busy, trying to create the best version of yourself possible. This week, I'd like to discuss some of the events that have been going on in the world over the last few years. It would appear that we have gone through an unprecedented number of chaotic situations that have made us all sit back and think, what the? And just when we think that things are about to settle down and we can catch our breaths, something new comes along that shakes us up again and makes us go, what the? All over again. Just as an example, in the last few years we saw the uprise of the Me Too movement, i.e., we had to face the misogyny in the world. We have also been confronted with the situation regarding George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, i.e., we have had to face the racial issues in this world. Then, we had to deal with the stupidity of certain leaders in the world, i.e., Donald Trump, who made a complete farce of his presidency. And then, we were hit with a pandemic, which forced us to stop and think about our lives and the direction that we were heading in. And now, just as we thought the pandemic was subsiding and we were starting to catch our breath, a potential war is brewing in Ukraine as I record this video. There's many more issues in the world, I know, but these are some of the more visible ones that we find ourselves being confronted with on an international level. So what's going on here? Why does the world seem to be spiraling out of control? Which in turn is causing many to be overwhelmed with fear and anxiety with where the world is heading. I'm going to offer my view on what I see happening. And of course, it will be from a more spiritual perspective, as I think spirituality can really help us shed some light on all of this in a way that logic cannot. But before I get to that, there's a few things I need to explain first. It has been talked about for some time now that the Earth is evolving on a spiritual level, and that we are currently going through an upgrade in our consciousness. You may have heard many spiritualists refer to the Earth moving from a 3D to a 4D and a 5D state. What does all this mean? Firstly, the D in 3D, 4D and 5D refers to spiritual dimensions. The number before the D refers to the level of consciousness that we experience in this dimension. On Earth, we have 3 different dimensional states of consciousness that are available to us. It's important to understand that these dimensions are not actual places. Instead, they are states of consciousness. This means we may have 3 people all standing in the same room at the same time, but all 3 could be experiencing different states of consciousness. One person 3D, another 4D, and the other 5D. Also, it's possible that people can move back and forth across the dimensional states depending on how they are feeling at any given moment. For people living in a 3D state, they perceive reality as being purely physical and that we are all individuals separate from one another. They see the world in duality, where everything is either good or bad, right or wrong, moral or immoral, etc. Life is considered a competition, and due to scarcity, there is not enough for everyone and some people have to miss out. Fulfillment on this level of consciousness is found in making money and social status. People in 3D consciousness experience feelings of fear, limitations, lack of interconnectedness, suffering, and the belief that working hard is the only means to succeed. They also believe that thoughts have no power over reality, and whatever comes their way in life is simply a coincidence. There is no desire for introspection, where one goes within to look at things from a deeper level. In 4D consciousness, an individual begins to realize that we are all interconnected and that there is more to life than meets the eye. They begin to understand that thoughts are powerful and can shift the way reality is perceived. While duality and the concept of good and bad are still experienced, there is more compassion and understanding behind it. Someone in 4D consciousness has a strong desire to find their purpose and to follow their passions. They understand that life is meant to be enjoyed and that they are worthy to live the life of their dreams. With 5D consciousness, people begin to understand that we are all one and interconnected. Life is perceived as a process of continual growth and that there is no such thing as good or bad. Love and compassion are of the utmost importance. There is no such thing as judgment, because you understand that everyone is just on their own journey through life, learning and experiencing what their soul incarnated on this planet to learn. From this state, you know that there is no competition for resources, and there is enough in the universe for everyone. Your intuition is extremely strong, and you feel connected to angelic beings. Now that I have explained these 3 levels of consciousness, can you start to see how this might relate to what we see happening in the world? More and more people are starting to move into the 4D and 5D states of consciousness. In order for this to happen on a collective scale, we must release all our fear-based illusions, such as hate, i.e., misogyny, racism, homophobia, etc. The need for power over others, i.e., starting wars with one another, and the concept of scarcity, i.e., where there is not enough for everyone on the planet and some people just have to miss out. These 3D based illusions are just plain incompatible with the higher states of consciousness. Hatred cannot exist alongside love and compassion in 5D. Energetically, it's impossible. Why is this so? It all goes back to a previous video that I did, where I talked about the map of consciousness levels. This map was developed by Dr. David R. Hawkins, who was a world-renowned psychiatrist and spiritual teacher, among other things. If we take a look at his map, which is now on your screen, you will see the frequency range on the left-hand side, starting from the lowest at the bottom and reaching the highest at the top. The highest frequency range is between 700 and 1000 Hertz, which is deemed enlightenment, while the lowest frequency, 20 Hertz, is shame. Hate sits at around 150 Hertz alongside anger and aggression, while love sits at 500 Hertz. The point of this is that when you are filled with hate, you lower your vibrational frequency and move away not only from love, but from enlightenment. In other words, you move away from God, Creator, Allah, Source, or whatever you choose to call it. In doing so, you are not only separating yourself from God, but you are also remaining in 3D consciousness. Another thing we need to keep in mind, our outer reality is a reflection of our inner reality. If we choose to live in fear and hatred within our inner reality, then our outer reality will also be filled with that. It is a fundamental universal principle. We manifest what we think and feel. So what does this mean? Humanity has failed to address its fear-based, ego-driven illusions of hatred for many centuries. We have never focused our attention on our inner darkness in order to clean up the darkness in the outer world. And now that we are ascending, we are being asked to look at this and address it. We are being asked to shed these ideas so that we can heal our ancestral wounds. We are being asked to do this on a mass scale and put them behind us. Time and time again, we have refused to look at the past with any real introspection, to try and learn from our mistakes. This is the equivalent of an alcoholic giving up alcohol. That might be all well and good, but until they analyze the reasons for becoming an alcoholic and addressing the root cause of their addiction through therapy, then they haven't completed the healing process. So, with that in mind, let's look at some of the bigger issues. Firstly, humans have never apologized to one another for the horrible things that we have done to each other. In the US, there has never been any formal recognition of the cruelty African Americans have faced since they were forced to go to America as slaves all the way back to the 1500s. And now we have the Black Lives Matter movement. For centuries, women have been oppressed and overpowered by men and treated as second-class citizens. And in the last few years, we had the Me Too movement. For many centuries, numerous leaders around the world have sought to invade lands and veto their sovereignty. And now, we have the leader of Russia trying to invade Ukraine to exert power and authority over a country for his own selfish means. Ukraine is fighting back and saying no. Time and time again, we have gone in circles committing horrendous acts of cruelty on one another and have never bothered to learn from it. And now, the world is ascending. We have been forced to look at these issues with great earnest. The universe has given us a mirror to look at our behavior and to finally address the darkness within all of us and overcome it once and for all. The pandemic gave us all a time out so that we could stop and think about what we were doing to one another, to actually face one another, look at each other in the eye with forgiveness and compassion for our generational errors. Unfortunately, I don't think we used this time as effectively as we could have. The sooner we can do this, the sooner we can all ascend to the highest level of consciousness, so we can move on to healing our planet and tackling the bigger problems, such as climate change, poverty, homelessness, access to food for everyone on Earth, and so much more. It is a gargantuous task, for sure, but it can be achieved. I believe with every fibre of my body that we can achieve this, so that humanity can enter a new phase of evolution that would lead this planet to greatness and beyond. We just need to be kind to one another. Is it really that difficult an ask? Surely not. I refuse to accept that we can't do this, and there is no one on this earth that is going to change my mind, so don't bother trying. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more content if you haven't already done so. Take care, everyone, and remember to always strive to create the best version of yourself possible, one step at a time.